Greetings, coding enthusiasts. Today we delve into an intriguing topic, the most common mistakes when learning programming. Now we all know that learning to program can be a thrilling journey, but like any journey, it's not without its bumps and obstacles. And that's what this video is all about. It's about those common pitfalls that we often stumble upon when we're starting out with programming. These are not just mistakes, they are opportunities. Opportunities for us to learn, to grow, and to become better programmers. It's important to be aware of these issues early on. Why, you ask? Well, understanding these common mistakes can help us avoid them, saving us from unnecessary headaches and late-night debugging sessions. Plus, it can speed up our learning process, making us more efficient programmers. So, without further ado, let's dive into the first common mistake. Mistake number 1 is not understanding the basics. It's like trying to build a skyscraper without first laying a solid foundation. In programming, the basics are your foundation. These include understanding variables, data types, control structures, syntax, and the logic behind how programs work. You might be tempted to leap straight into more complex topics like algorithms or data structures, but without a firm grasp of the basics, you're likely to stumble. For instance, if you don't understand how variables work, you'll struggle to store and manipulate data in your programs. Or imagine trying to write a complex piece of code without understanding control structures like loops and conditionals. It would be like trying to navigate a labyrinth without a map. So before you rush into the deep end, take the time to master the basics. Study them, practice them, and make sure you're comfortable with them. Always remember, a house is only as strong as its foundation. Moving on, the second mistake is ignoring error messages. Now, it's natural to feel a twinge of panic when you see an error message pop up on your screen. But here's the thing. Error messages are not your enemy. They're more like guides, pointing you towards the issues in your code. When you're programming, an error message is a signal that something's not quite right. It's the computer's way of saying, "Hey, I don't understand this part, can you help me out?" And the beauty of it is, error messages usually tell you exactly where the problem is. They might even give you a hint on what's wrong. Instead of brushing them aside, use these messages to your advantage. Dive into the details, understand what they're trying to tell you, and use that information to fix your code. It's all part of the learning process. So next time you see an error message, don't ignore it. Embrace it. The third common mistake is copy-pasting code without understanding it. Now we've all been there, haven't we? Your code's throwing tantrums, deadlines are looming, and there's a handy solution on Stack Overflow or GitHub. But here's the catch. Simply copy-pasting code can lead to more problems than it solves. Firstly, you might be copying errors or bad practices without knowing it. Secondly, if you don't understand the code, you'll struggle to debug it when things go awry. And trust me, things always go awry in programming. The key here is to understand every line of code you write. Yes, every single line. It's like cooking. You wouldn't toss random ingredients into a pot and hope for the best, would you? No, you'd follow a recipe, understanding each step and ingredient. And that's the essence of programming. To know what each line does, why it's there, and how it interacts with the rest. Remember, programming is not just about getting the code to work, it's about understanding why it works. Mistake number 4 is not practicing enough. You see, in the world of programming, practice isn't just a chore, it's a lifeline. It's the key that unlocks the door to understanding and mastering the art of coding. The more you code, the more you reinforce what you've learned, and the more adept you become at problem solving. This isn't about mindless repetition, but rather about engaging with different coding problems, learning new techniques, and gradually improving your skills. It's about making a commitment to continuous learning and improvement. So you're probably wondering, how much should I practice? Well, the answer to that isn't a simple one. It's different for everyone, but the bottom line is, you should be coding as much as you can, as often as you can. Remember, programming isn't a spectator sport. You can't just watch from the sidelines, you've got to get in the game. And remember, practice doesn't make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. Last but not least, the fifth common mistake is not asking for help when stuck. Programming, like any other skill, comes with its fair share of challenges. And it's completely normal to find yourself stuck at some point. But what separates successful learners from others is how they deal with these roadblocks. Many beginners hesitate to ask for help, fearing that it might make them look incompetent. But let me tell you, asking for help is not a sign of weakness, but wisdom. It shows that you are ready to learn and grow. We live in a digital age where countless resources are available at our fingertips. Online forums, documentation, and communities are there to help you navigate through your programming journey. Don't shy away from seeking advice or clarification, it's all part of the learning process. So the next time you find yourself stuck on a coding problem, don't hesitate to reach out. Remember, there's no shame in asking for help, everyone was a beginner once. And there you have it, the 5 most common mistakes when learning programming. These pitfalls, although common, can be easily avoided with a little bit of awareness and diligence. Let's quickly recap. First, we discussed the importance of understanding the basics. Solid foundational knowledge is key to effective programming. Next, we stressed on the significance of paying attention to error messages. They are not just roadblocks but signposts guiding you to the right path. The third mistake was the habit of copy-pasting code. Remember, programming is about understanding, not just replicating. Our fourth point was about the necessity of practice. Like any skill, programming needs consistent practice to master. And lastly, we underscored the value of asking for help. Don't let your ego stand in the way of your learning. Reach out to your peers, mentors, or online communities when you're stuck. Avoid these mistakes and you're well on your way to becoming a proficient programmer. Happy coding!